The following podcast is a next level production.
What is all this? Acid.
Well, you told me to clean up my own mess. I just have to thank you for teaching me such a valuable lesson and personal responsibility.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. What's going on? You got blood on you. Come on. Talk to me. Hey. I'm your dad.
Okay. But you gotta promise you won't be pissed.
Hey, panelers, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this is going to be a spoiler-full podcast about The Umbrella Academy Season 3, Episode 5, The Kindest Cut. So this is going to be a spoiler-full podcast about that particular episode. Obviously, you must have watched the episode, so that's why you're here. But me and Steve watched it, and here we are to discuss it.
And reminder that we're watching it from the perspective of having seen the whole season, even though Mark and I have bad memory sometimes, but we have watched the whole season. So there are times when we'll say things like, did that happen in this episode or was it the next episode?
Right. Just bear with us. And then obviously I'm sure a lot of people have binged it already too. It's been out for some time, so I'm sure you guys are a little bit aware of it. If not, and this is your first while you're watching it, that's fine as well. So with that, Steve, why don't you give us a synopsis of this particular episode?
Sure. Klaus's relationship with death proves more complicated than anyone knew. Victor finally learns what happened to the Umbrella's mothers. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, this was an interesting episode, and I really liked it. You know, my initial thoughts were literally just, it cleared up a little bit of stuff here and there, but we got to see a little bit more about Klaus. And I really enjoyed that aspect.
Yeah, and there was things that I caught back on my third, and I don't know if I did a fourth watch of it, but so there are little things that I caught that I've got in my discussion points and stuff that I like. They set up a lot of things for the season. We did get some answers to some of the questions that we've been just trying to figure out, though, and I thought that was interesting. When I actually had to go back to my notes for episode 1 to confirm something that I want to discuss.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, we'll move right along into our top highlights of the episode. So, Steve, you want to start us off?
Sure. The one I was just alluding to, which is now we understand why there were only 16 births, because Harlan killed 27 of the mothers. We get that confirmed by Vanya and Harlan in this episode when they're talking about the deaths of the mothers. I think Vanya actually says, "You killed 27 of our mothers," or something to that effect. So I actually went back in my notes to like I said, to episode 1 to actually confirm that that's what it was. It was 16, and that in the original episode 1, season 1, it was 43. So now we've got that discrepancy kind of cleared up, which I'm glad they did, because it was starting to really bug me. And I did not remember that this did get cleared up. I think I mentioned it a few episodes ago that I said, I think I remember them clearing it up, but I don't know exactly when. Yeah. And so there's things, but yeah, this episode, that was the big one, or that was the first big one for me, was just that realization that Harlan, I don't know what 27. I don't know what the significance of it was. Obviously, it included all of 6 of hours of the Umbrella Academy, excluding Ben. And then also 21 other mothers that we currently don't know anything about.
Yeah.
But it also reveals to us that there are at least 9 more because there were 7 members of the Sparrow Academy. So there's at least 9 more of these children out there somewhere. And I don't know if that's dealt with. I don't remember if there's any dealing with that.
Well, we only have one more season, I believe.
Yeah. I think this next season is going to be the last one. So there's some things that they won't be able to tie up. And of course, we'll have to see how they get past this season, because we know the ending. and which is a doozy. So we'll have to see how they get to the next season and what kind of if they have any kind of a time jump or if they start right where they are. But yeah, I like that finally those numbers got confirmed. That had been confusing me.
Yeah, same here. It's an answer that I think a lot of people had because it's like, wait a minute, that number, wait, because they all remember back from the first season and how it all started.
Right.
So that's a good thing that we got an answers to that. One of mine was just seeing Klaus and his journey and him realizing that he had all those moments in his life. He didn't realize he literally died.
Yeah.
Those are moments of death, and he didn't realize that. Oh, I thought that was just something that just happened, and I just survived it.
Yeah, I love that. What does he say? He says, "Oh, those were near-death experiences. Those were death experiences."
Yeah. He just realizes it. It's like, what?
Well, and go ahead.
No, he just like the few experiences that we do see is like he sees his young self in the mausoleum, and you see Hargreaves there counting the time down to when he actually did die, and then falling off the building.
Yeah,
when he was a teenager during like I guess a party at night on top of a building, and he falls off and he dies. And then of course the one with the spear. Yeah, the last one that he actually did die. And it seemed that it took longer for him to come back.
That's one of the things that we see at the very beginning of the episode. Of course, you just talked about it. We see Hargreaves come in to the mausoleum, and he says, I think he said experiment number 34 or something like that. Time between whatever death and revival, 30, he says, however many hours or minutes, or I can't remember what the exact amount of time was, but so you can tell that he's killing Klaus and then seeing how long it takes him to come back. And that's just messed up. And of course, we're gonna get a montage of that here in an episode or so, where we get Klaus training. I put that in quotation marks. He's going to be training to see how fast he can come back.
Exactly. With the help of somebody we know. And I think up until this time, too, they actually do clarify how many times he has died up until that point, which I think he found out from his mother, and he apparently died 56 times.
Yeah, I think that number seems. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this to watch this play out again, because
and he also gets to meet his mother too, his birth mother in the Death World.
That's right. That was part of this episode. He did meet up with her, but she sent him back. So
he goes, "Oh, well, you must see everything, all the cartoons." And it was like, "Oh, wait, you're Amish." And she goes, "No, we got everything here."
And she says, "I mostly watch you." And he's like, "Even the naughty bits?"
Yes.
So, it's great. Because Klaus is just amazing. That's great. My next one is kind of Victor and Harlan. We get this interaction between them with Victor blaming himself for what Harlan became, and Harlan kind of trying to reassure him, no, it wasn't your fault. But it at the same time, he kind of in the previous episode kind of said it was, you left and mom, this happened with mom. And so that was an interesting conversation, but there's also a moment in there when she realizes, and when they share that vision of him killing those mothers, that she specifically tells him, don't tell the Umbrella Academy, because she knows how they'll react. And particularly Allison, I think she knows how Allison's going to react to him. So she makes sure, don't tell them anything about what you did.
Yeah, because Allison lost a lot. Not only did she lose her husband in the current world, because we knew she had a child and a husband in the first season. It's not the one that we remember from last season when they were in, where was it? In Texas.
1963. Yeah. In Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah. In Dallas during that time, where she met another man, and, but she also lost him as well. So she had so many losses at that point, as well as feeling prejudice against her within that particular society too, within Texas in the 60s. So she lost a lot of those people and friends that she had. And then she has her family, but the family's all messed up, as we know. But they are family yet still. And the fact is that you could tell that her attitude has changed within these past few episodes. You know, they actually talk about that because in the very beginning, Luther, he has a reaction to Allison's bruise, to Victor's bruise, and then Diego's bruise. Yeah. And he thinks Harlan had to do with everything, and it wasn't, which was pretty interesting and funny all at the same time.
Yeah.
But since Diego explains what happened to him and Allison at the bar brawl, then they understand. And then Victor explains what happened with him and Harlan, or them and Harlan. And they then it all comes together. And, you know, Luther is just like, wait, what? And it was kind of like, wait, oh, we have to go after Harlan now. But it wasn't that at that point. It's just all this confusion is because it always seems that Luther is the last person to know anything.
Yeah.
If you notice within this particular season, he doesn't know because he was kidnapped and they took him and he had no clue. Sparrows thought he was an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes right into my next one, which is Allison. We see more of her drinking in this one. You already talked about the violence at the bar, and Diego, you know, it's becoming an interesting relationship between Diego and Allison, that he's kind of feeding her violence, but at the same time, he's kind of, you can tell there's a couple of times when he was like, maybe we should dial this back a little bit, you know? And then of course we have that scene between her and Luther where she rumors him.
Oh, she tries to.
No, I mean, yeah, she succeeded. She shut it off, but I think because she realized it was the wrong thing. But yeah, she rumored him into having, and he starts to get forceful with her because of that rumor, you know, and she's like, oh, wait, stop. And so she stops him, and that's when he runs off to go be with Sloane. But that's, again, we've seen so many varying shades of Allison, and this one is so different. You know, the first season we see the struggle she has with being a mother who's separated from her child. She can only rarely see her child. It was apparent that first season it wasn't 50-50 custody. There was some kind of, because he had figured out that she was rumoring the girl, and so that's why they had separated. And so she rarely gets to see her, but she at least gets to see her, you know, and then she has their tryst with Luther in the first season. And then the second season, she meets the guy in the 60s, and they actually I think they were married.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. And so she has that we see that side of her, that softer side of her with that. And then of course she comes back to the present, and we get this bitter Allison,
angrier, and
angry,
she's
and
bent on revenge or to take it out on the world.
Yeah, and we know
not just like anybody, but just literally just taking it out on what she needs to do. And I think Diego is that, here, let's vent this frustration that you have built up, and that's why they got into that barroom brawl.
Yeah, he thought he was helping her, but really he was just increasing. Yeah, fueling it.
It's an odd transition, but at least we saw some style of character development with them. You know, obviously with Victor, it changed from Vanya to Victor kind of quickly within a matter of a season, but that's fine. But it also changed in a good way, I think, for the fact that Victor is taking responsibility and wanting to help and focusing that effort. But the other siblings are just not having it there because they're really against, of all things, which is the issue is Harlan.
Right.
And, then, the other cool moments that were in this was Diego and Stan. But the fact is that Diego leaves Stan with Klaus, and then apparently Klaus, dies, but due to the spear. And then in this particular, I think it was last episode that he gets shot.
Yeah, he got shot right at the end of the last episode, and then he wakes up. He wakes up in that whatever that other world is, where he sees the girl, and then he finds his mom.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, and in this case, you have Diego, and he's trying to be more fatherly to Stan, but in this case, he sees Stan getting all these cleaner fluids and everything, and he goes, something's up. And then he goes and he follows him. He goes, you killed my brother. He goes, you could have just, You were just gonna burn the body, or
just going to dispose of the body? Yeah, I loved this scene. This was great between we this. It's a father son, even though we know the truth, but it's a father son bonding moment between Diego and Stan, in that they're trying to get this Klaus's body. They're taking it somewhere. I don't know if he said he was going to show it to the family or what he was going to do, but they had it rolled up in that rug
and the carpet.
And the bellman sees them and he's like, "What are you doing?" Like, "We're playing guy rolled up in a rug." And Bellman's like, "Well, I hope you win." And then he just moves on, which is hilarious. The Bellman, I just love him. He's amazing. We could have a spin-off show just about the Obsidian Hotel. We see those background characters again, the guy with the funky hair and the woman with the pillbox hat. Yes. We see the guy in the uniform and the hat, that all these things in the background that we get no explanation for, but it's just hilarious that whole scene. And we just see that. And then obviously when Lila comes back, she sees that Diego and Stan have started to bond. And that was really great. But I've got,
it's a nice. I love that whole feeling too. It's funny too how it's like when she sees Diego and Stan bonding, it's like they get really, really aroused about it.
Yeah, that was another funny scene because like she kind of starts to blow him off a little bit, and she's like, "I can go find another DILF," and he's like, he spins her around and is like, "No, we're going to bed right now," and takes her away. So yeah, that was great. And there's a moment there, and I didn't catch it until I think the third or fourth watch, when they send Stan somewhere so they can go have their booty call, and Diego says, "Oh, and don't forget your ear medicine, it's downstairs." I love the callback to the ear medicine, because I think I mentioned last episode or before, I was like, man, do they ever bring that up again? And they certainly do. So that whole those three, and then when Klaus wakes up in the elevator and he's poking at his chest, and it's just then he goes downstairs, is showing the family, and everybody finds out that he can come back to life. It's just it's a hilarious, and we're going to see more of that in the next few episodes, and I'm excited to watch it play out.
Yeah, because before then, I think the siblings only knew that he was able to communicate with the dead.
Yeah, and we saw he was actually able to manifest the dead, because remember when they had that fight with the army?
Yes,
he actually was able to manifest Ben into existence and other ghosts into existence. So we haven't seen that yet this season. I don't think we see that this season, so I hope they pick that up next season.
But at least with this version of Ben, we'd get to see his abilities within this particular season as compared to before, because we only knew Ben through flashbacks with his powers.
Yeah, and the few times we saw Klaus,
ghost.
Klaus interacting with the ghost, and then, like you said, then we get to see him manifest there in that final episode of season 2. He actually manifests, or the second to the last episode, whichever one it was, that Ben actually manifests into existence. I thought that was great, and like I said, we need to see that again.
Let's talk about that family meeting in the hotel bar. It's so funny how Five telling the siblings all about the Kugelblitz and how it will be another 4 to 5 days for existence to disappear. Now it's like it's like literally what Five looks forward to doing all the time.
But exactly. He tries to say he doesn't, but then he's like, literally it pulls me back in every time. So I didn't have any notes about that, so I'm glad you brought that up. I hadn't. That's one of those things where at the beginning of the episode, I think Luther says we're going to have a family meeting, and they all scatter. And so it's not until Five comes back that they actually have a family meeting. And Lila, that was so sweet with when Five even looks at Lila and she starts to leave, and he's like, "No, you're family now."
Yep. And even Klaus says it. Yeah.
So it was really cool. It was great to see again them kind of realizing that we have to save the world again, but then Five going, "But I told myself not to save the world, so I need to figure that out," which I thought was another interesting thing. But yeah, really, really great. The last discussion thing I really have is I thought it was interesting that when the Sparrows get back to the Sparrow Academy, I think they have Sloane with them now, or when they get back and they have Sloane, they care more about getting revenge for Alphonse and Jamie than they do saving the world.
Yes.
which I thought, or saving the universe, which I thought was really interesting because it shows this lack of connection they have with humanity, that because they're just,
they were literally pampered. They were stars to the world. Whereas with in the Umbrella Academy itself, Hargreaves kept them hidden, locked away, and only brought them out to do within their heyday of, taking care of the world when it was needed. And then, with these kids, they had everything, like all the cool food, the workout material, their like faces on a lunchbox, on billboards, everything, and they were worshipped. So they thought the world revolved around them, whereas that they needed to take care of the world. So in this case, they're more concerned about each other and not caring literally what happens to the universe or the world.
Yeah. And they just want revenge. And the Umbrella Academy is willing to give Harlan to them, but that's when Victor tries to sneak him off, and Allison. And I think this is where Allison might have, at this point, she might be starting to suspect that Harlan had something to do, or there's something darker with Harlan, because she takes him away. And we know that eventually she's going to kill him and return and give his body to the Sparrows, but that's not for a couple of episodes.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of them working together at that point.
Exactly.
Not to move ahead, but because we don't see that. We kind of get that gist because that's what it started in that hotel room when they were together.
Right. And that's where I think it kind of started. And we wouldn't have seen that like in a first watch, but with this perspective of looking back on it, we start to see, now I see where the groundwork was laid.
Yep.
Yeah. For this.
Well, there was an interesting part that I had to talk about. Ben and Fee were, like you said, they were more concerned about taking revenge, but they go into the basement. Actually, Five finds out where the Kugelblitz is, which is in the basement of the Sparrow or Umbrella Academy building.
That's another one of those moments, right, where Klaus goes, "Oh, you mean the ball of fire in the basement where we keep the luggage in the storage?" And they're like, "You knew where it was. Why didn't you tell us?" And he's like, "I tried to tell you. You weren't listening to me."
Exactly. But the fact that you got Ben and Fee down there, they use Mother. They use her eye to look into the Kugelblitz.
Yeah.
Which causes another wave for the Kugelblitz, and you see more people disappear within the town,
and I think that's the one that takes out the bellman, the guy in the uniform, and the couple in the hotel as well. So we got a lot more people getting taken out by this Kugelblitz.
Yeah, a lot more people get taken out, and it pretty much exacerbates it to the point where that's why Five knew that they only have so much time. And then they only have that X amount of time to fix the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where this whole idea of getting Harlan back to the Sparrows really comes into play, because Five's like, well, we have to work with them to try to get rid of this thing. We're not going to be able to get into the academy and get down to this basement unless we're working with them. So we might as well give them Harlan, and that's why, again, like we talked about, Victor tries to take him away, and Allison ends up taking him. But that's like I said, that's gonna play out in the next couple of episodes as well.
Plus, we also get at the very end the kicker with Five. And he shows his tattoo piece.
To
Klaus. Klaus figures it out what it is. It was a biker gang. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, they used to do security for me back in the day." Blah, 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 blah. I was like, "Oh, okay." Then he goes, finds to see how he got that tattoo. And he had taken it off of his older self that was being kept alive that had the one arm.
Yeah.
And we see, of all things, they're old.
Pogo? Is it Pogo?
Pogo.
It's just not, yeah. But and that was an interesting scene between him and Klaus because he's telling Klaus that he really wants to retire, and Klaus is like, "Well, then just do it. Just don't do what you were going to do, and it won't." And so it's that was one of those moments where I was kind of confused a little bit, because on one hand, Five's future self tells him, "Don't try to save the world." So Klaus kind of gives him an out. He says, you don't have to go find this tattoo and get this tattoo. Stay away from anything that's going to take your arm out. Go raise goats or whatever he said, on a farm. And Five's like, realizing that he's not going to be able to, he can't do that. He's got to work. His head is so with the time commission, and that he's more about fulfilling the timeline, fixing it, but making sure it doesn't get out of whack. So he knows he has to get that tattoo. He's going to have to eventually lose his arm in order for everything to play out the way it's supposed to play out. But that's also what the Kugelblitz is here. So that's where I was just like, what is he trying to do? Is he trying to save the world? Is he not? And he kind of is. So, but that scene with that scene of him walking into the bar, did that give you Terminator 2 vibes when he walks into that bar at the very beginning? Yeah, I really got that vibe this time, and everybody's looking at him like the way they looked at Arnold Schwarzenegger,
It's like, but then again, he's like a short kid going into.
He's like a short kid, yeah. And Arnold was a naked man, So yeah, but it was just it wasn't until this most recent watch that I picked up on that. I was like, this is very to the point of even like one woman looks at him and kind of goes, so. But yeah, that was great. The only other thing I really kind of had was the Sparrow logos. It was pretty clever. They were on Klaus's pupils after he died, and his eyes were still open.
Yes.
The camera came down and went in on those logos, both the Sparrow and you had to really kind of search to get the umbrella one because it wasn't really super well done, but it was in there. So yeah, that was really cool to see.
Looking over my notes, there's a few things that I did catch. The wallpaper in Harlan's room is the same pattern on the rug in Kubrick's film The Shining. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it's all green tones.
Oh, okay.
Which is wild, too, because, all weird, strange things that are going on within this series or this episode, mostly.
Mm-hmm. That's everything. I've got a couple of quotes.
Yeah.
We haven't already said yet, but we talked about the Bellman. I talked about the ear medicine. Mm-hmm. That's all I had, like, kind of in my notes there. I'm making sure I didn't. Yeah, that's everything that I've got.
Yeah, it's everything that I had, too, as far as notes. The only thing I have left is quotes. The one that I have is pretty funny. It's Klaus. He goes, what kind of snuff movie is this? When he goes into the mausoleum and sees his younger self dead with Reginald over there timing him.
That was pretty funny. The first one I've got is when Diego sees Lila for the first time and she's happy to see him. And he goes, wait, you're happy to see me. What's up?
Oh, there's something else that I don't know why I put it in my quotes, but it is a note, but we could talk about it. The buffalo, that is a clue later on for the season. Mm-hmm. It references the room, so we see that it's in the coffee that Klaus sees. He's looking into. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that his mom gives him, and he sees the buffalo, and he realizes. And what I didn't notice until this most recent watch, the buffalo, it kind of has a split down the middle. Mm-hmm. Which again is foreshadowing the fact that we have one half is in our world and the other half is in the other world.
Yep. We got the head and somebody else got the butt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. The only other quote I have is 5 when he's talking about giving Harlan over to the Sparrow Academy, and he says the kindest cut wins. He said the title of the episode.
Yeah, well, that's when 5 says, Victor, we are down to ethical triage here. We can't save everyone. The kindest cut wins. Yeah, that's the whole quote.
Yeah. Ethical triage. That's a good. I'm glad you got the whole quote because I didn't save the whole quote. That's really good.
Yeah. The last one I would have would be Stan, and it's referring to Klaus when he comes back to life and they're walking from the elevator to the other siblings, and he goes, "What if we were to cut off your head? Would it grow 2 of you?"
Yeah.
I was like, well, this ain't Deadpool, so I don't think that's gonna happen.
Exactly. So.
All right.
That's all I had.
That's all you have. But before we move along, let's move into. Well, we got no feedback, obviously, because we haven't been up.
Right. We've been remiss on that. So
we've been remiss on a lot of things. We won't go into like suggestions or anything now, just to keep it a little quick.
Okay. But, I do have one news item that I put in the doc because it came out the week that I did this doc.
Yes.
That according to Variety, the Umbrella Academy has been renewed for the 4th season and 4th and final season. So we've been talking about it, and it was Variety did confirm that is Netflix has confirmed that. So
awesome. Yeah, I have more to add to the news as well. Tom Hopper, who plays Luther in The Umbrella Academy, is in a new Netflix show. It just came out within the past month. It's a Netflix rom-com that's out there, a movie called Love in the Villa. Oh. And I saw it. It was pretty funny. It's literally like two people get stuck. They book the same villa, and they can't get out of it. But, he's from Britain, so he has his British accent in it. So you get to hear him in his real, his regular voice. And it's pretty cute just to watch. So if you're into rom-coms or something like that, but it's just them trying to deal with living together within this small villa, I thought it was pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
Last one would be, Keanu Reeves is apparently doing a Constantine movie, another one. So he'll be reprising the role of John Constantine. Now, I could say Constantine on this because on Sandman Cast we have to say Joanna Constantine. Yeah. Because they changed it, how they state it. But yeah, apparently Keanu Reeves is coming.
I saw that article, and that's interesting. When did Constantine come out? Was that the 90s or was it?
No, early 2000s.
Early 2000s. So it was after The Matrix. Okay.
Yeah, Rachel Weisz was in it, and Tilda Swinton, and a bunch of other people.
I vaguely remember it. I don't.
Shia LaBeouf was in it too, of all things.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, like I said, I vaguely kind of remember it, but
yeah. But if anybody wants to see that version before they actually go see or hear more about the new movie that Keanu Reeves is doing, literally it's on Netflix. You could just go back to it and watch it.
There you go. I might do that.
All right. Well, we should move on to where people could submit their feedback.
Okay. Well, obviously you're listening to us on your podcast player of choice, whether that be Spotify, Google Play, or Apple Podcasts, or whatever one you like to use. I know there's a lot of them out there. I just use the Apple one. It's a little touchy sometimes, but I like it. If there are an opportunity to give us some ratings, we would love to get a rating or a review from you, and we would give you a shout out here on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Check out our website, panels2pixelspodcast.com.
We are on Facebook, facebook.com/panels2pixels.
We are on Twitter @panels2pixels. That's @panels and the number 2 and pixels.
We have an email address that you can communicate with us, which is panels2pixels1@gmail.com. That's panels2pixels spelled all out, the TO right in the middle, and then the number 1@gmail.com.
And you can find us out on YouTube. So it's literally a lot of the podcasts are just a podcast on YouTube with our artwork on there. But sometimes we'll have videos depending on if we have an interview or if we out of the blue just want to do something live. So all you have to do is search for Panels to Pixels podcast, subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you like what we do, or if that's your preferred method of listening to the podcast.
And we are on Instagram @Panels2Pixels Podcast, all spelled out in letters.
Exactly. And you can check out all the other podcasts on the Next Level Podcast Network. We highly recommend them all. Wilhelm with Ben. Ben's starting to put more stuff into motion for Wilhelm. The Melting Pot, Podcast Zero, and so much more. All you have to do is go to nextlevelradioonline.com and check them all out there.
Very nice. Coming up, you will either hear the next episode of The Umbrella Academy or She-Hulk or whatever we post up, because that's what we do.
Exactly. And where else can listeners hear us?
Well, I send voicemails to various other podcasts that our friends do. I love to hear my own voice, apparently. So I enjoy doing that. So if you're listening to any of the Podcastica or occasionally TV Podcast Industries, or even Adrenaline, even Pirate Core Entertainment Network, you will hear my voice on other podcasts.
Yep. And you could hear me on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. Therein we cover, action, adventure, fantasy, sci-fi, thriller, suspense movies. The last episode that was up was Predator that you and I did, Steve. We're going to continue that, move on to Prey. And then Jerry and I will be covering the Omega Man. And look out for those when they do come out.
Charlton Heston?
Yep. And you could also hear me on Podcastica Network on the Sandman Cast. So all you have to do is look for House Podcastica, find the links there, and just go, even if you go to podcastica.com, you could actually get that and put that in your player of choice and listen to it. So it's Jamie, our friend Jamie, and I covering Sandman. That's on Netflix. So check that out there.
If you're looking
Podcast
for all the Podcastica shows, you can search. I did this in Apple Podcast. If you just search for Podcastica, Podcastica, all the shows will come up right there, and you can subscribe, like them. That will help them and help us out with Panels to Pixels as well.
Exactly. Yeah, because you'll see our links there as well. Jason has put a lot of stuff too for all the hosts and stuff that are on Podcastica Network, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
So, well, there is our show. And I want to thank everybody for listening. Same podcast, different panel, different pixel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels podcast. And we'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.
Good night.